Can the five-factor model predict gambling behavior?
It can, yes. You know, the princess quizzes, that's people doing personality testing on you and then using your data to create these buyer profiles. The black hat world is definitely a lot more open to this kind of stuff. The white hat world is very stuck in their ways.
How can small iGaming operators use psychometric targeting to compete with bigger brands?
If you worked with a psychologist, you could do a lot more. Should you really be targeting these people, or should you be referring them for psychological help? You're not in control of iGaming at all, but yet people use it to feel like they're in control.
What type of players are there?
And then the most critical one are problem gamers. So you have people with low conscientiousness, high impulsivity, and they're basically just chasing their losses. Neurodiversity has been linked to it quite a bit as well, because if you have people with ADHD, for example, they are prone to more risk-taking behaviors. They're more prone to, you know, more addictive personality types, so they could get addicted to it more easily. You really need to understand your target audience on a psychological level if you actually want to create ads. Literally, as if you pull something out your ass and then hope for the best. That's how, you know, accurate demographics are. And we're basing our marketing strategies off them, which is a bit shit.
Wondering which domains are winning right now? Now you don't have to wonder, nor do the work to find out. We research, test, and identify the trends for you before they peak. New release every week, limited inventory. Subscribe to All These Trends now. Hi, welcome back to All This Podcast. My name is Aneta Samkov, and today I'm meeting Sarah Pokorna, who is SEO manager at WhitePress and psychologist. We're actually meeting at WhitePress's SEO Vibes conference in Zakopane in Poland. Thank you so much for coming, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm very excited because today we're going to talk about actually black hat psychology for iGaming.
So looking forward to this.
Yes. So tell us, what is psychometric targeting and how does it differ from traditional demographic targeting?
Yeah, so like, I think everybody in marketing has kind of heard of demographics and, you know, when they pick out, for example, how old somebody is, where they live, what they like, you know, those kind of basic traits. And something that I always show in presentations is a comparison between, like, I keep calling him Prince Charles. I need to remember that he's actually King Charles.
Okay.
And Ozzy Osbourne, that demographically, they're both exactly the same, like same age, everything. But you know, I'm a bit of a metalhead and I wouldn't target like King Charles the same way that I would target Ozzy Osbourne, really, would I? So like demographics are very kind of hit and miss. There's actually been some psychological studies on demographics and they actually said that they are as basically as what's the word? Accurate as just guessing. Literally, as if you pulled something out your ass and then hope for the best. That's how, you know, accurate demographics are. And we're basing our marketing strategies off them, which is a bit shit, like, let's be honest. Whereas psychometric targeting is, instead of looking at kind of like the physical traits that people have, things like age and stuff, it looks into like people's attitudes, people's personality types, people's cognitive preferences, and it looks at kind of more, I would say, just like inside people's brains as a whole and what really makes them tick and stuff like that. And actually, it's a lot more accurate. You get much better results with this kind of, you know, these kind of, this kind of targeting. So yeah, like if I could have one wish in the industry, it would be, can we please ditch demographics and start looking at psychographics instead?
Hopefully it will happen.
I hope so.
Why is it particularly relevant for iGaming, where understanding players' behavior is like really crucial?
Yeah, so when it comes to iGaming, there are so many different like things at play, I would say. It's not like just going out and buying a dress. You know, iGaming is linked into things like reward systems. It's linked into dopamine. It's linked into risk-taking. It's linked into impulsivity. All of these things are cognitive processes that are going on inside people's brains. And if you want to understand what type of, you know, players these people are, what is driving them to play these games, how you can get them to do more actions. You need to understand the psychology behind them. And, you know, as people, we all have different personality types. We're all slightly different. What motivates us is different as well. So you really need to understand your target audience on a psychological level if you actually want to create ads and targeting and SEO that actually works.
So actually, what's the sneakiest way psychology is used in iGaming ads?
Oh, there's quite a few different ways that they're actually used. Like one of them is FOMO, of course. Like, you know, if you don't play, you're not going to win. That sort of thing. You've got like emotional triggers as well. So like invoking like anger. You've got things like, you know, invoking revenge after people have lost.
Really?
Oh yeah, like
anger in a sense, they're angry that they're
angry that they lost, so they have to go back and play, and they have to play again. They're angry that somebody beat them, for example. Lots of different things like this. And you know, unconsciously, people react to that a lot.
Yeah.
So that's going to get people to play. Some of the other ones as well is like there's something called temporal discounting. And that is basically that people prefer rewards if they get them sooner rather than if they get them like further away or they have to wait for their rewards. So the good thing with iGaming is if you promise them instant rewards, they'll win the cash straight away or they'll win a prize straight away. People unconsciously are going to favor that. So people actually use that in marketing and talk about instant rewards, and that encourages people to take action because of that. And then you've got as well like social proof and things like that. So by showing like this person won XYZ, people are automatically gonna want it. I spoke briefly when I was in America about Cialdini's 6 principles, and that kind of links into it as well. When you look at kind of like, you know, scarcity, stuff like that, because you can say, you know, there's only one place left in this tournament and one chance to win. And then that kind of triggers people to kind of go down that route.
With the instant rewards, is it the case? Is the example where the players tend to skip if this is a roulette or some kind of wheel, to skip waiting for the spin?
I find that most people kind of do skip waiting for the spin. They just want the results. And like I know that people like it's getting more and more common now that people want things instantly. People are impatient. So like people don't care. They just want the results. So if you can offer triggers that offer them the results straight away, they're going to take it. So even like the wheels, I would say a bit redundant. If you can speed up the process, more people are going to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what kinds of people are typically attracted to iGaming, like from the psychological perspective?
Oh, that's a tough one because there's quite a lot of different profiles that are. So there's people who like high sense. I can never say sensation, but high sensation seeking people. So these are people that kind of crave novelty. Basically anything that's really fast paced. They actually get a boost out of that. So for them, you know, we talk about the kick you get after you do certain drugs, after you drink certain things. It's the same with iGaming as well. So these people who need the sensation, they crave the sensation of, you know, the thrill, the iGaming, the potential wins and stuff like that. You have people who are impulsive as well. So people who don't really think about the actions after they've done it. So if they think, okay, I could potentially win, I'll just do it. I'll just do it. Neurodiversity has been linked to it quite a bit as well, because if you have people with ADHD, for example, they are prone to more risk-taking behaviors. They're more prone to, you know, more addictive personality types, so they could get addicted to it more easily, stuff like that. So that makes it a bit more complicated as well. When it comes to personality traits as well, you've got people who are low on conscientiousness. So for example, so they're less organized, they're less self-disciplined. And as you can probably imagine with the low self-discipline, that leads on to more problem behaviors like, you know, gaming, betting, that sort of thing. And also people with high neuroticism as
Oh, that's
well.
surprising.
They use it to self-soothe, and they use gaming as a way to kind of control things. And yeah, it's quite interesting.
But what can they control?
See, that's one of the other psychological processes that come into play, is that people feel like they control the outcomes, and they feel like, for example, the more they bet, the more likely they're gonna, or the more likely they game, the more likely they're gonna get a result. But actually, that's not true. So again, it's a cognitive bias that people kind of assume that they're in control at all times, and actually they're not.
Yeah.
And that plays into it. So.
Wow, that's like really interesting. So what type of players are there?
Oh, so I have a few on here. So when it comes to like different types of players, so you've got people who are more casual players. So they're kind of, you would say that they're more moderate when it comes to impulsivity, kind of low risk seeking. They just play for fun whenever they want to, and they're kind of low risk level because, they're kind of aware of all the risks and stuff like that, so they're not prone to getting addicted too much. You have people as well who are kind of really after the kind of bonuses, I would say, in iGaming. So these are people who are high on conscientiousness, and they have higher cognitive control.
Okay.
But they're very loyal to games and stuff like that. So they will play the same games over and over again, and they value kind of like the optimization of the games and stuff like that. But because of that, they're kind of medium risk to getting addicted and things like that. You've got people who do it for status or because they want to be the best as well, and they're after the profit. So these are people with, for example, high conscientiousness as well and low neuroticism, and they're kind of low medium risk. They just want to be good at the game, and not too risky.
But like they just want be good at the game for themselves, or they want others to see that as well.
It depends on what motivates them. And again, this is where personality can come into it. And you have things like mindsets. So there are people who you would say are classed as people with a fixed mindset. They're kind of very into status, and they use different things to prove their worth. They're not as confident, and they like results quickly. So people with a fixed mindset, I would say that they are definitely doing it for status. They want to show off. They want to show that they're good at something. Whereas people with a growth mindset are more prone to like learning. So they'd want to learn how to play the game. They'd want to learn how to do it, and stuff like that. So again, you need to kind of go a bit deeper into what they're thinking than just like the psychological traits, and understand what motivates them, and then you can create better ads for them. When it comes to like high risk people, it's definitely people who are kind of searching the dopamine. They're searching for the thrill. They want the prestige with it. And these are people who are highly extroverted and also moderate kind of impulsivity as well. You have people who, like I said, use gaming as an escape. So these are people with very high neuroticism. They've got low coping resources. They basically use gaming for emotional avoidance.
Oh my God.
So they're very high. And then the most critical one are problem gamers. So you have people with low conscientiousness, high impulsivity, and they're basically just chasing their losses. It's quite a lot of different profiles out there psychologically. So that's where you have to, I would say know your shit when it comes to targeting all of these different people, and have lots of different options when it comes there. And again, like, do you really want to target problem gamers? I wouldn't recommend it, really. Like, not really the right thing to do.
Yeah. A lot of different profiles, and they're quite different.
Yes, exactly.
So the lost chasers, they just need to lose once, and they will get stuck trying to recuperate.
Yep, exactly, until they win. And
it's a vicious cycle.
It is.
Okay. Yeah, so that's like very on the boundary there, right?
It's really tough because, like, I have ADHD myself, and I know that I'm awful with that. Like, just one more go. I don't actually... I know that I can't play any games or do any betting or anything like that, because I know that it will just be a downward spiral. But some people don't have the self-awareness or the self-control to be able to do that. So it's kind of tough.
So actually, can you give us any examples of psychometric targeting for different groups of players?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ones that you could do. So, for example, people who are, looking for the whole sensation of gaming, that kind of profile, they want like flashy ads and flashy messaging. You've got people with like who they prefer fast-paced games, so they'll prefer things like casinos and stuff like that. And the messaging needs to focus on like things like thrills, and the excitement of it. So you could use things like, I don't know, feel the adrenaline when you do this.
Okay. Even that explicit.
Exactly. Then you've got the other one as well that, if you want people who look for kind of, I would say, bonuses or like who are loyal to the games and stuff like that. So you can have personalized deals for them, like retention bonuses. And this is where you need to talk about, value, you need to talk about strategy. And, some of the examples that I've got here are like maximizing your edge and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that could work well. People who want to perfect their skills and stuff like that. So you can have ads that talk about skill, control, long-term, improvement and stuff like that. So, this is where you can talk about leaderboards and having the edge on something. So again, that works quite well. And then for the people who kind of care about status as well, VIP programs, talking about status, giving them personal attention, that kind of thing.
Exclusivity.
Exactly. And that works really well for them as well.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So what's the most surprising thing you learned about player psychology in iGaming?
It's a really tough one. I think just the whole complexity of it and the way that, we normally talk about targeting 2-3 demographics and stuff like that, whereas there are really complex like player profiles out there, especially when it comes to psychology and stuff. It's kind of surprising as well. I wouldn't say it's surprising, but it is a little bit surprising the number of people, the number of player profiles who use it to, to repair their moods or, escape from stress, feel in control. And that kind of just hits home, like the cognitive biases at play, because like you're not in control of iGaming at all. But yeah, people use it to feel like they're in control.
That's really surprising.
So that's a tough one as well. So like, yeah, lots of psychological factors at play, and some of them are a bit like ask you lots of moral questions as well, like should you really be targeting these people or should you be referring them for psychological help, that kind of thing. Where do you kind of have the boundaries between doing your job, selling the product, and just being a dick, basically? It's quite a fine line, I would say.
Yes, especially with the addictive groups.
Yeah, exactly.
The groups are so diverse, so different, that it really requires you to look at them like very specifically and walk that fine line for each of them. I
think so as well. And I think it's something that you really need to have somebody who's qualified or somebody who actually has a knowledge of this before you go into it. Because like when I've worked for agencies before, when I've had clients in, I had a client who like in the betting industry and stuff, if you use SEOs who are not well versed on this, they're not going to know the fine line, or they're not going to know what to do. And then you've got all of the regulations in place as well, and they're complicated as well.
Oh, totally.
So a lot goes into it.
Lots of different factors and variables.
Yep.
Most players know they will not win.
Yep.
Why do they keep playing? What's the psychology behind that?
Okay, so the first one is, as we've talked about, the need to be in control, because unfortunately people think that they're in control. So there's something as well called intermittent reinforcement. And that is basically where, because rewards are delivered unpredictably, people don't really know when this reward is going to come. So they keep, they're expecting that dopamine surge. So they want to find it, and they're going to keep playing until they get that dopamine surge to get it. You've got as well like cognitive distortion. So people who think they're better than they are at playing. So they like in general, people always over-exaggerate their skills or think that
Yes.
they're better than they
Like
are.
everybody's better than average driver.
Exactly. So they're gonna, like, they also believe like, oh, I'm due for a win now, so I should win. So I'm just gonna do it one more time. There's loss aversion as well. So people, you know, chasing the losses. There's something as well called the sunk cost fallacy. And that's basically the more time and money that they invest in it, they don't want to give up on it.
Oh, okay.
So they're going to keep at it. And also as well, like flow state. So people go into a deep state of concentration while they're playing it, and they don't realize how much they spend, or they don't realize how much time that they spent on it because they're just so into it.
So how can marketers influence that?
I think when it comes to these different points, I think just understanding what psychological processes are at play, and then basically coming up with some of the techniques to keep them playing or stuff like that. So it all comes down to, I would say it's not just marketing, it's a mix of everything. So it's UX, it's copy, it's ads, it's, you know, the experience of the game. Like, everything comes into play, not just marketing, but of course, as a marketer, it's useless if you have, for example, like a psychologist who's telling development what they need to do, and marketers don't know that. And I see a lot of disconnect between that quite often, that marketers are out of the loop when it comes to actually what they need to be targeting, or the processes.
Yeah, especially that the groups are so different. You need different message for this very specific group.
Definitely. And this is why demographics don't cut it at all, because like, you know, people who are, say, 48 could be every single different type on there, and it's not going to be good enough.
So how can small iGaming operators use psychometric targeting to compete with bigger brands?
Yeah, so I think like size isn't really a barrier per se. I think, you know, bigger companies, of course, have access to, you know, more psychologists. They've got more information on this kind of stuff. They probably have more processes in play. But anybody can use psychographic targeting. So, for example, you know, start looking at tools that do psychographic data, and start using more data in your decisions as well. I talked a bit about this actually in Vietnam, using things like personality quizzes to find out personality types. You can scrape people's social media data to analyze kind of player profiles. You can find out based on the text that they use on social media, you can get machine learning to do this for you. And tell you what sort of personality types you're dealing with. And based on the personality types, you can whittle it down into all of these different things. You can also focus on sub-niches as well. So rather than targeting everything, and I've had it before where, for example, somebody wanted to go after best online casino or whatever, when actually, you know, they had no hope in hell of doing that. Maybe do something a little bit more niche-y, less competition, and then you can grow into something more as well. And basically you can use kind of like behavior-based triggering as well. And some of the tools out there to do that aren't that expensive. And like CRM systems and stuff like that. So it's not out of budget for small companies to do whatsoever. They just need to invest in the know-how and some tools to do it. But again, these tools don't specifically have to break the bank.
Yeah, and work with the psychologists, right?
Work with psychologists, like, I can't tell you that enough.
Yeah, this is probably super rare, right? The companies don't really do it.
They don't, and it surprises me as well, because I'm like, if you worked with the psychologist, you could do a lot more.
Yeah, you can outcompete your competition.
Oh, totally. And it's like, it surprises me a lot that, like, especially at SEO conferences and stuff, we are not talking about psychology as much as we should be. And I get it quite a lot, actually. The conference organizers sometimes turn around and like, but we don't need psychology. This is an SEO conference. I was like, yes, you do.
Oh,
You do.
wow.
Yeah.
So there isn't even like an openness.
There isn't. I would say, I don't know if I can say this on camera, so edit it out if you need me to.
Okay.
The black hat world is definitely a lot more open to this kind of stuff. The white hat world is very stuck in their ways and not so open to psychology.
That's interesting.
It is, because it's not the done thing. And I think in SEO, we're kind of too stuck in our ways, and we forget that, you know, SEO is a part of marketing.
Yeah.
all of this comes under the umbrella of marketing. So you need to understand what's going on and go back to basics. Otherwise, I don't think, people are going to survive in this industry.
Yeah.
It's harsh, but it's true.
So the 5-factor model is the one primarily used for psychometric targeting. And I assume you already mentioned some traits from the 5-factor model, but could you actually explain it a little bit and tell us about the traits and which are the most wanted ones when it comes to gamblers?
Yeah, so basically, starting right from the beginning, so the 5-factor model of personality traits is basically, psychologists have spent hundreds of years trying to whittle down how you can summarize someone's personality. So what they actually did was the early studies went through the dictionary, found every single adjective, wrote it down, and then they spent years trying to compile, which adjectives could be used to test people's personalities. And in the end, they found these 5. And these 5 they work across cultures, they work across age groups, they kind of basically, tests have backed this up many, many times to show that this is probably the most accurate way of measuring people's personality types. So you can learn them by using the anagram OCEAN. So that's openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And you can test people's personality types. There's loads of different tests out there. The one that I normally use is the one called the NEO. Just because it's easy, it's short, and it's open to everybody. So Google that if you want to start, looking into your personality types. Because the problem is that when it comes to personality testing, it's become kind of this billion-dollar industry. And you have things like the Myers-Briggs and stuff like that, which aren't actually psychologically valid.
Really?
Yep. The tests have shown that they're not really valid. And there's no real science to back it up.
Or whatever it's called.
Yeah, no, it's just not really there. So be careful when you do choose personality testings and choosing what type you do, because a lot of them are not psychologically valid or scientifically valid, and they don't prove what they're meant to prove. So yeah, stick with the NEO, stick with the 5-factor model, because that's kind of the one that most psychologists go to. When it comes to, sorry, I completely digressed on that, but when it comes to using the 5-factor model in iGaming, so you can look at different types of profiles. So if, for example, you have people who are high on extroversion, so they are more responsive to stimulation, they like novel experiences, and also kind of social play. So for people with that personality type, again, play on that, use those kind of experiences, talk about that in your ads. That will work nicely.
Like joining community.
Exactly, that sort of thing. You've got people with high openness who are more curious and they're more willing to try new game features. So again, sell those new game features, use things like that, try and get people who are curious to get more involved. You've got people with low conscientiousness, for example. They are more impulsive, they're less risk averse, and more likely to take financial chances. So again, if you're talking about the novelty, the impulsivity of it, that's who you want to target.
So emphasize also new features.
Yes.
For those things.
I would say new features, but don't market them as new features per se. Market them as new experiences and that kind of thing. You've got people with high neuroticism.
Yes.
So we've already touched on that, but these are people who use gambling for emotional regulation.
Yes.
So these, I would say, are the most problematic, because you do not, ethically, should you be targeting people with this personality trait? Probably not, but they exist and they're out there. So I'll leave it down to people's better judgment what they want to do with this information.
Yes.
And then you've got as well low agreeableness. So these are people who are competitive, they're self-orientated, and they're drawn to kind of high stakes and gambling and things like that. So again, you can use that in your messaging and stuff like that. When it comes to ideal profiles as well, as I said, be careful with who you're targeting, because there are people who are at risk. Regulations mean that you can't target at-risk people. It's against psychological, ethical guidelines as well. So be careful with that, and just make sure that you're being responsible with your ads and your targeting.
How can you gather the data safely and in accordance with the law?
This is where it's a little bit complicated. So when I was speaking about this in Saigon, it was very much check the regulations where you live. Make sure that you are following all the laws and regulations. I'm not a lawyer, so please get legal advice on this. Some countries it's easier than others. In the EU, it's difficult because we've got GDPR. In America, it's easier because they don't have that. Stuff like that. So again, think about where you're targeting, not just data laws, not just privacy laws as well. Look into gambling laws, iGaming laws as well, things like that. But basically, check this all out. Don't go to prison and don't blame me. Kidding, but
So can you, for example, send surveys to your current community?
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's no laws about, not using psychology in your marketing. Otherwise I wouldn't be here. So send out surveys, send out onboarding quizzes, do quizzes. When it comes to scraping people's Facebook data and stuff like that, that's where you have to be a little bit careful. When it comes to as well, one of the examples I mentioned is the princess quizzes that you have on Facebook. What type of princess are you? That's people doing personality testing on you and then using your data to create these buyer profiles. So again, check the laws, check the social media platform if you're allowed to do that, or what the regulations behind that are as well. But there are ways to do it. You just have to be smart and don't do anything illegal.
Exactly. Can the 5-factor model predict gambling behavior?
It can, yes.
Really?
So it's quite interesting.
That's surprising.
Yep. So like, for example, people like on the openness scale, so they're more willing to try like novel game formats and slot machines and stuff like that, because they're more creative, they're more open to new experiences and stuff like that. So again, that's the kind of gambling that they would tend to go for. When it comes to conscientiousness as well, that's kind of like more disciplined, more organized, more impulse control. And if you have lower levels of conscientiousness, you take greater risks. People play more impulsively. So again, you can work out what sort of, risk they're going to be based on that. You've got extroversion. So these are people who seek thrill, sociability, energy as well. So they like live casino games, social betting, fast-paced games, and things like that. You have agreeableness. So these are people who, like cooperation, empathy, stuff like that. But if you have lower levels of agreeableness, this is where you want to play in competitive play, solo play, that sort of thing. So it might be problematic. And then neuroticism as well. So this is like emotional instability, anxiety, mood swings, and high levels of neuroticism, as we've already talked about, use gambling as stress relief and things like that, and emotional regulation. So you can use the Big Five quite easily to find all of these different profiles.
Totally. From what you're saying, it's so interesting. But we talked about ethics a little bit. I would like to come back to that. I was just wondering, where do you draw the line between like effective psychometric targeting versus manipulation? Like in iGaming specifically.
That's a really tough one because there's no kind of like fine line between it. I always go like, my kind of life motto is don't be a dick. So it's like, are you going to be a massive dick if you, for example, start targeting people with ADHD to try and get them addicted to gaming? Don't do that. That's not a nice thing to do. But when it comes to kind of the less high risk profiles, I would say go all out. Feel free to do them. Just be careful when it comes to high risk profiles and stuff like that.
Okay. And we talked about GDPR. Are there any other regulations or guidelines that you are aware people need to follow specifically in iGaming when it comes to psychometric testing?
Yeah, again, so again, it's different in different countries and stuff like that. So you've got like industry specific rules, you've got data privacy rules, you've got gambling laws, you've got advertising standards. So there's lots of different things that go into it, which is again why you need a decent legal department to kind of help you know what you can do in each of these different countries. Now, I found from experience that a lot of these iGaming companies or gambling companies are based in countries where the rules are more relaxed. So like South Africa, maybe Malta, places like that. So it might make it easier. But again, just be careful. GDPR, you've got, specific bodies in different countries and industry codes and things like that.
So how do you see the future of psychometric targeting in iGaming specifically? Will there be more regulations or will it become more prevalent?
I think so. I think it needs to become more prevalent. I think as in with SEO and everything in general, this is the future. Keeping like we're doing with the status quo just gives you kind of bulk standard marketing that is a bit meh. Whereas this can actually allow you to take it to the next level. And I think as well, it can actually kind of be used for good, because I know a lot of companies have issues trying to like determine who's going to be a high risk profile, who should we not market to. Whereas if you do the personality testing and stuff, maybe when you're onboarding, things like that, you can actually be like, okay, these guys are high risk. We're not going to target them, or we're not going to go out with any ads. So actually it could do you a favor and, help solve issues in the long run. So I think, not all bad, it's not all black. Well, not all as dark as it can be. This can be used for good too.
Yes. Yes, exactly. You can use the knife for different purposes.
Exactly. Go target the ones who are not high risk, go all in. And then for the ones who are high risk, do the right thing and identify them.
Thank you so much, Sarah. This is absolutely wonderful. I love this. And if you enjoyed this conversation as much as we did, please like and subscribe to our channel. Follow Sarah on LinkedIn, follow Otis and my LinkedIn profile as well for more episodes. And see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
Thank you.